Anyway, so let's see what Pierre Rashad has to say about the reserve. So Pierre says, when each nation acquires a big Bitcoin position and a small basket of their own domestic local cryptos, the new world reserve currency is Bitcoin by default. Few understand this. So let's read that. Let's read this again, because I had to read this a couple times myself to kind of understand what he's talking about here. So when each nation acquires a big Bitcoin position and a small basket of their own domestic local cryptos, the new world reserve currency is Bitcoin by default. Few understand this. And you can see that our guy, Jason Lowery, also agrees with that thesis. And it's the truth. So if you look at, I think there was a good, I can't see it, of course, because I'm not signed into X. Fucking X. Actually, Twitter. We'll call it Twitter. It doesn't deserve to be called X. But anyways, there's a reply to that, and it showed kind of like what the U.S. holds right now in terms of its stockpile or reserve or whatever they have. And it's like Bitcoin at the top. I think it was like, I don't know, 200,000 Bitcoin, which is a couple billion, 10 billion. I don't know what it is. And then the second one was like 20,000 Ethereum or maybe like 100,000 Ethereum, which was like $1 million. Like the spread here it's a big spread between Bitcoin and everything else. So of course, like if you kind of subscribe to the theory that there's going to be altcoins and cryptocurrencies in the future and all these different currencies, then yeah, countries are going to hold their own currency. They're going to hold Bitcoin. They're going to hold Ethereum. They're going to hold all these different things. Like no country is just going to go 100% all in on Bitcoin. They just won't. And you might say, well, El Salvador only holds Bitcoin. They don't hold Ethereum. Well, they're still El Salvadorian dollars, right? They're still American dollars that they use in El Salvador. So yeah, I mean, the only crypto that El Salvador holds is Bitcoin, but they're still using all these different currencies. And that's kind of just like a good representation, I think, of what's going to happen in the future, where all these countries are going to have Bitcoin, and that's going to be like what their currency is backed by. And maybe a lot of countries don't even have their own currency in a decade from now. Maybe there's 10 country or nation state currencies, and everything else is just like nobody wants it, nobody cares, because they don't have anything backing that currency. Because right now you see all these different currencies that are essentially pegged to the US dollar. And we don't know how much supply there is. We don't know which people own which ones. It's all kind of just kept in the dark. That's why we have 200 different currencies right now, because it's all just in the dark. People don't know what they're holding. But in the future, if everything's backed by Bitcoin, they have these different cryptocurrencies or stable coins that are backed by Bitcoin, then that's what gives it value. You're going to be able to go onto a website and see Sweden has 5,000 Bitcoin. Canada has 5 Bitcoin. Which currency do you think you're going to hold? Probably Bitcoin, but then when you have to use it, you're probably going to be using Sweden's dollar, whatever that is, the Donair. No, that's not it. I think that's a dessert. But you know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't really matter. That's what we have to understand here, is that it just doesn't really matter. It's all going to flow to Bitcoin. It's all going to be Bitcoin eventually. It's just going to take a long time to get there. And that's okay. Because kind of what the grinder said initially here at the start of the show, which I 1000% agree with, is that bottom line, this will leave more sats for the people, which is what we want. That's why Bitcoin has made it this far through 16 years, because when Bitcoin was released, it was released and people held it. Individuals still own 70% of the Bitcoin today. So if governments and big entities just start buying up all the Bitcoin, what the fuck good does that do for anybody? We want people, the average person, to own Bitcoin. We want the shift from the small group of people controlling everything to a decentralized world where everybody has a piece of the pie here. And that's what Bitcoin allows for. So Trump, the US, whoever, China, Russia, they can take as long as they want to get their Bitcoin, because the longer they take, the more that the average person, the people who are willing to put in some work and time to figure this thing out, they're going to end up with the Bitcoin, which is what we want. Right?